Hello, I am Jan from Prague, the Czech Republic, and today we are going to see what it's like to shoot with the Xiaomi 17. I'll show you this with over 200 photos from a few places in Europe, from bright city streets to moody night scenes, from Prague to Barcelona. We'll also take a look at who this phone is really for and how it compares to the flagship Xiaomi 17 Ultra. And as always, I suggest we start with an overview of technical specifications. We can sum it up to this one slide, which actually is the very moment when Xiaomi introduced that mobile phone to the European markets. So we have 3 lenses, 3 sensors. These are shots taken with the main one, the most important lens. It has 23 millimeters. The sensor has 50 megapixels. You'll see many more examples in next parts of the video, but I really want you to see first set of photos to get a basic idea of what to expect from these unique opportunities to shoot musicians in the streets of Prague or these artists recreating the atmosphere of old pubs in the city center. Puppet in the Prague's old town and a very tough object for photographing an artist with fire. We'll see many more examples with him because it's really tough mission. Then we have the second lens and second sensor, which is telephoto lens. It has 60 millimeters, again 50 megapixels, and of course it's a very important tool for zooming. And again, we'll see many more of examples. I'll show you what to expect from the zoom, but at this stage I really only want you to have a chance to get some impressions of what happens if we go to the streets of Prague, or if we want to capture the mood in a night Prague like here. Artist with fire, my old-fashioned Nikon FM2, and examples of tourist photography from Hungary, from Moravia, and these amazing details. I'll get to that in a couple of minutes because honestly I believe that the ability of that telephoto to take that shots is one of the strongest features of the mobile phone. We'll get to it. Before we get there, a robot in Barcelona and his operator. And then we have the ultra-wide lens, ultra-wide sensor. And yes, it's useful for shots like that when we need to squeeze a lot of information, a lot of space into one frame. Sometimes it's clear that it's a bit weird, like here, but in situations like that, you even are not able to tell that the special lens was used. Or here, it's again, looks quite realistic. I really like the ability of this mobile phone to take shots from up to 10 centimeters. It's really amazing and it's not common, and it's, I think, really one of the strongest features. You can either be on 2.6 or you can zoom up to 5 like here. And here are the results. Now you might be asking, why is the guy so excited by that? Well, the reason is that it's not common to have a smartphone which allows you to take that category of shots. If you do not care much about details, let's see what happens if we decide to zoom. So we can start here on 0.7 and go to 2, 2.6, 5, and then up to 60. Here are the results. Let's go from ultra wide up, up, up. And here we go to the 60. Of course, you will not be using 60 for normal photography, but again, look at how far we are. It's really huge distance, but still the results are pretty decent, I think. The same test here from Prague. I am zooming to this beautiful church, going from 0.7 to 60. Here are the results, ultra wide, and going up, 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 and here is 60. You won't be using this, but given the fact how far are we, look at this. This, I have to admit, is quite impressive. And of course, we have a lot of functions connected to Leica, the famous German company, which works not only on optics, but also on the software side of the processing. Or you can play with filters. And honestly, I do not use it much. I do not really like it much because I just do not like filters generally. But after a couple of mobile phones, I was testing with all these Leica filters. I have to admit that in the future, I really might be using it because some of the colors are really tempting, like here. One more example, famous view of the Prague castle and a couple of more or less wild colors. Well, you might like it, this is not for me, but again, do try it, you might enjoy it to a certain extent. Sometimes people ask me, when do I use Pro Mode? And here is a great example of a situation where I simply need to use it to regulate so-called exposure time or shutter speed. And why would I be doing that? Because I can, well, regulate how the photo looks. Either I can keep the lights like here, or on the contrary, I'm trying to stop the movement and make it not blurred. Again, it's very complex situation. It's very hard to capture any reasonable shots, but still, I think this is a great example how the Xiaomi works and why should you definitely learn how to operate in Pro Mode and how to work with shutter speed. And yes, of course, the best photos would always be photos like here when there is nearly no movement and you do not have to care much about settings. And now let me show you some examples from my travels. This is Slovakia, a famous gallery on the banks of Danube River called Danubiana. Definitely go there, it's really interesting. Or now I jumped across the border to Moravia. And why am I showing you these photos in a such quick pace is that I really want you to see as many photos as you can within a limited time frame. This is a famous place in Hungary, and if you have seen some of my previous reviews, you probably noticed that I love this part of evening. It's so-called blue hour, when maybe 20 minutes after sunset, you are able to capture these amazing bluish tones and everything looks like from a fairy tale, which worked really great here. And now we are jumping from Hungary to Spain, to the very moment when Xiaomi introduced Xiaomi 17. And by the way, if you want to carefully study the specs, they are all in that slide. I'm actually quite far from the guy, but still I'm able to zoom and the quality is still very reasonable. And if you are bored by all these technicalities, yes, of course, it's a great reason to go out and see all these fantastic buildings. The weather was not exciting, so I was just going through streets of Barcelona and taking different shots of people, musicians. This is in portrait mode, so the background is interestingly blurred. Or, of course, I love Barcelona and I never forget to visit one of these fantastic marketplaces. And since it's nice and colorful, why shouldn't we take some photos? Or here, spring is finally coming, so all these colors, all these interesting buildings are shining, and once again we are able to use them as a test shots for illustrating what can we expect from that smartphone. Again, a lot of colors, a lot of shadows, and a bit of evening atmosphere of this fantastic city. And some more examples: colorful building, colorful cars, colorful robots with their operators. Really interesting opportunity to visit places like that and take shots like this. By the way, these shots were taken with the ultra wide lens, and this is one of the examples when it makes sense because I was able to squeeze a lot of space into the frame. And now we jumped back to Prague, to my city where I live and which I like and which you probably know from many of my reviews. And yeah, a couple of more examples from the old town square, the famous astronomical clocks and some details and colors. And what I really appreciate on mobile phones of that sort is that they are able to work with shadows, they are able to keep a lot of colors, a lot of contrast, a lot of things, which is really impressive. But if you do not care much about architecture, maybe you like shots like that when you simply need to zoom to a bird or any other animal, which is obviously a bit far from you. And once more, I think this is a real-life example that zooming with this smartphone does indeed make sense. And some final shots from the Prague here, ultra-wide Prague castle. And let's depart from this city by a set of shots from evening Prague, a musician playing in the old town and these amazing ladies, actresses, recreating the mood of old pubs of Prague. This is a very famous Czech puppet and Czech puppeteers. It might look a little bit weird, but every kid in my country knows this. And final shots from my favorite city, a night in Prague, interesting locations, forgotten streets, and we can stop here in Old Town. And finally, a couple of examples of videos. And typically, I do not like to evaluate, to review video capabilities because it's not my field. So the best thing I can do is exactly what I am doing right now. So as I speak, you'll see a couple of examples of video clips. All are, of course, recorded in 4K. And well, it's up to you to decide if you like them or not. You definitely will not be disappointed because yes, indeed, Xiaomi 17 counts among the top mobile phones on the market. So thank you so much for your attention. I hope you got a bit of inspiration. Take care. I'm Jan from Prague, the Czech Republic.